Greetings, brothers and sisters. And so we begin. Today's lesson will mark a different tone and demeanor in which we have used before. The purpose of today's lesson is to take the pieces that we have presented before you and to begin to apply them to actually use the tools. This will mark the difference from this lesson forward on what we have done before. If we may, to take a step back and explain it to you as to what we have done so far with you. We began with simple concepts, although to you in your mind at that time, they were not so simple. Now looking back, if you have followed the lessons, they were simple, easy to understand, from the right perspective. What these lessons have been doing, step by step, is opening your awareness. Awareness to what? Different concepts of the way reality works, your world around you, and your place within it. And within each of these concepts, there was resistance. Well, of course there was. No one likes someone coming in and telling them reality is not what they think it is. You need proof. And in proof, there is time indicated. The purpose of that illusion and the purpose of that tool used properly. Within that process of uncovering that awareness of what the concept was, there was the conscious self that you are aware of, trying it on for size, wrapping its head around it, and spending a time between you and the ego trying to process it the way you normally process every piece of information. How does this benefit me? How does this reflect on my worth? What standards do I now have to meet in order to be worthy? And within that cycle, that tumultuous cycle of change, also what came in, which allowed the seed to grow, was awareness from your higher mind. The energy of that is where you are present to slowly give guidance of opening up to the information, where it no longer became a matter of worth. And we bring this to your attention to review what you have done so far up to date. Look at your process. Go through your journals. Reflect on what you were actually doing. You would say, trying to figure it out, trying to get the information. And as always, we would point out, that's a great understanding. But what tools were you using to do this? And if you watch, you will observe, not so subtly, the anxiety and the pressure and the feeling of anger that would arise was coming from the energy of this new information and how it relates to you and what faults you find now, and how could you rearrange this so that you could be okay with yourself. Those are the simple terms in which you use to describe the process. We would say, look deeper and make sure you get the gem that is present. Because what is within that cycle of change is the measuring stick in which you always measure yourself by. And it's important to bring it into the light, to see it for what it is and understand with appreciation its purpose in what your life was. And now question, does it have a place currently? If that question is not asked, then you can't move beyond it. But the question doesn't even begin to form unless you observe the pattern yourself. What is that measuring stick? Why is it there? What was its purpose? It had a purpose or it wouldn't be there. Is it appropriate anymore? Because that measuring stick, constantly, if you observe it, and you have a history of going through the lessons, to see it for yourself. But if you observe the measuring stick, every time a new piece of information, a new tool was laid before you, a new concept, a new possibility, it is like saying you could have unlimited energy to your home if you just take the plug from here and plug it in there. The one you're in is metered. You have to pay for it. There's a price. You have to monitor it. You have to measure it. You can't just simply leave it on all the time. It will ring up the bill and or create a complaint by those who provide it that you're using too much power and create blackouts. But this plug over here is unlimited. You can power whatever you want, and it will seamlessly move through and power everything. It is not metered. It is not measured. There is no price. It simply is. And with each new concept we gave of such a possibility, the immediate psychological reaction is, I'm not good enough. I am not good enough. I should have known where that plug was. I now have to compare myself to this standard, and I have to look at my entire life and how I'm not living up to that expectation, that I don't just simply move the plug. And once again, it's another issue, something to think about, something to feel about, something to try to resolve, to put it into physical perspective of all your aspects in life. And while that one statement may be true, this does need to occur. Does the accompaniment of the measuring stick need to go with it? What are you measuring yourself to? And what are you measuring yourself by? Why is it not an exciting prospect to try out and experiment with, like a child with a new toy? No apprehensiveness, no fear. Just a simple joy of exploring the possibilities. Is that what you experienced through each new tool we laid? And if not, then what was that? What was that indeed? Today's lesson begins a new mark for you. From this point forward, in our communications with you, in such a style of a meeting, it is going to be about action. Steps to take. Taking the tools we have given and assembling them to actually do something with them. And so today's lesson is going to be about the mind is the moment. And this seems simple enough. You've been learning about being in the moment. Connection. And it has gotten to the point that the mind has started using the word connection like a catchphrase, almost like an affirmation. The mental understanding of what it's supposed to be, but not the actual experience. And so, we give a warning. You are at an interesting point. The juxtaposition. Which road would you choose? You can take the tools and allow them to become an empty affirmation, which is what we've been saying about affirmations and the way that they've been used, not properly used, currently used, and outlining why they don't work. Because instead of taking the intention of the experience of the affirmation, the gift within the wrapping paper of intention of words, you focus on the words, the wrapping paper, the mental concept of what it is supposed to be, and say that is enough. I understand it mentally, so that should be enough. When have you mentally understood an amusement park and it been enough? It is the experience of the amusement park that makes it worthwhile. These tools we laid before you are not meant to be mentally understood. You can get that from any book on the Barnes & Noble shelf. And that has been our point. They teach you mental concepts to grasp, to understand. But where is the experience of them? Because within the experience, you don't need the words. Because you are actually experiencing the gift. And that is what this is now all about. Not the concept, the experience. What are you experiencing? We have led you to the point of understanding the mind. We have brought up several times now in our conversations, our discourse, our demonstrations with these videos, and to direct communication, that your tendency to look at these concepts and make them separate. In one such example with Mansour, we said your light, and you replied the light, as if it's an outside source. Within each of these concepts that we have laid before you, this premise of karma, outside source, like there's a storehouse of karma, a bunch of old ladies behind a desk carefully measuring your actions and seeing what balances, and then sending a reply, an energetic reply of things happening in your life. God, separate, not as an experience of I am, but an experience of it is. And it replies to my prayers. Not I am the prayer. I am experiencing the prayer. I am the experience of the prayer. You look to your physical life for a result, and not the gift that was in the moment of the prayer, and you toss that to the floor and play with the wrapping paper of the words and disregard the experience. And there is a truth there, because intrinsically, you know you are in physical form to experience what you know, to physically experience it. The issue is you make the experience physical instead of understanding that it's an experience that translates through the physical. You want the physical to occur so that you can have the experience. That is not the way it works. You have it backwards. And this is what we have been discoursing on. And so we have taken the time to discuss with you that the concept that you currently have your attention on is your mind, is your state of being, and that you have control over this. Now, action, action, action. We have said this to you. We have explained this to you. We have given several examples. We have gone round robin on this. But if you take no action, the teachings will not be applied. And so it is time to discuss the mind and the moment. Being, the mind is the moment. Even with our discussion of connection, you think you are connecting someplace else, to an energy, to a source, to a different dimension, a different realm. No matter how many times up to this point we have been clear that all of that is present now, within this very room, outside the house. The trees are connected to it, the grass is connected to it, the bugs are connected to it. We have even given the example of the snake that lives under the house, under the bedroom. And yet, it's still seen and experienced as something separate. I'm going to connect, and you attempt to look for a vast source. The vast source is now. And it is not a separate energy. It is your perceptions. So what we are saying, the time to take action upon, is this exact moment. Because being in the moment is not about tapping into it. Because we have stated continually, it is already present. So why don't you know about it? Why is it not as simple as breathing? It is like the sun being up in your world, and we say we see the sun, we feel its heat, we feel its warmth, and you say there's nothing but darkness. And you don't know how to tap into that to see the light. In physical terms, this would be an insane statement, because the sun is present. But if you don't know how to modulate your frequency to be able to perceive that, then it makes sense. You have to turn your eyes on. That's what they're there for. That is their purpose. But you must understand that purpose. And you must understand and take responsibility for that space. The higher self, the higher mind, whatever you want to call that fallacy, cannot break your free will. It must go by what you accept and what you are willing to have happen here. And so that means from this point on, it is about your actions. It's not about a realization. The work begins. The tools have been laid before you. The explanations have been given. What will you do with them? In that, we can offer no aid. It is entirely up to you to get skilled with the tools or not, and accept the mental concepts and the feeling of comfort that they bring. And that is enough. And if that is enough, then we are still done a good service. We are happy and pleased with the result. But if you want this to go further, if you want this to be real, more than a mental machination that you battle with, and one that is a state of being, then there is work to be done. And not by us, by you. Because what we are saying is that in order to be in the moment, to understand that as a state of being that is already present, right where you are now, look around your room, it's present. You must harmonize your energy to perceive it. And this is the point of understanding. Whether you are depressed, sad, filled with anxiety, happy, joyous, angry, fill in the blank from your multitude of experience, and combining those energies, it is still your perceptions. That is you harmonizing your frequency and your mind to constrict or to expand. It is your mind. And so understanding your mind, which is what we've been leading you to, is taking responsibility for that focus of energy. Carefully, always monitoring it, observer self. In the beginning of our discussion of observer self, it is an important point for the observer self to begin to realize the fallacies of illusion before it. What does that mean? It means that it finds fault with fault. Quite simple. It means that you observe the chaos running in the background of your mind at all times. It means for the first time you detach from the noise and the distractions, and you hear the inner rumbling of your thoughts and emotions. Never pleasant. You watch movies, listen to music, watch your news shows. You have a list of shows that you watch on TV, friends that you talk to, things that you do, all of it to keep yourself busy. That, in the beginning, is where your attention was upon. Those things. And they did their job. They kept you very busy. You had no time for inner studies. You got done with your day and was exhausted and went to bed. Woke up and did it all over again. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Until you grew bored and wanted to know more. And then you became aware of the inner self. And you didn't like what you saw. And we spent time discussing the fact of healing always being pleasant. Healing always being about uplifting your soul. Healing always about expanding your mind. And we made the specific point that if you're in a continual state that everyone must treat you with kid gloves, that you are not so fragile, that it's insulting. It's insulting you that you must be treated with nothing but butterfly wings, or you will break. You will not break. Look at your mind. And in the beginning, it is not an uplifting experience. In fact, it's called the dark night of the soul, because you become aware of the noise that you've been avoiding through the outer world noise to distract yourself. And so, like walking into any room and turning on the lights and seeing it in total chaos and disarray, and realizing you have to clean it up and put it in order, it's not a pleasant experience. Nor should it be. It's not about pain and suffering, certainly not. But if you're dealing with your reality that you created honestly, in the beginning, it's not a pleasant experience, but a necessary one. Acceptance and responsibility. Learning to love yourself as you are, as that disarrayed room. Coming to a point, a momentous point, that despite the disarray you find, it's okay. I'm okay with this. Let's begin the work of straightening this room out, this inner space you found within. It's an honest starting point. And so you begin to straighten it out. And one of the points that we want to make about the observer self at this point in time, a thing of reflection, is to close your eyes. Seriously, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And observe you observing. And go through just a month's worth of observational work you have done on yourself. And ask yourself, if you had to draw the image of that observer as a face, would it be smiling or scowling? An important question. And the point we wish to bring to you is that the observer self is not there to judge you. If you are using that tool in that way, then you're not understanding the tool. If the observer self has an eye roll look upon its face, then you're not in acceptance of yourself. Not yet, at least. And so even with observing, you create a resistance, and hence the feeling of, oh no, not this again. Oh no, not something else. Because you're still focusing on what's wrong. you're still making a list of what needs to be fixed. And let us give you a hint into the depth of this movie you refuse to stop watching. The list never ends. And the person watching it is never satisfied. Ever. We point to your past lives as examples. And if you don't believe in past lives, this one will do. When have you ever been satisfied? And why hasn't it lasted? Why hasn't satisfaction of yourself stretched into moments of a week, moments of a month as you would measure it, moments of a year? But the truth be told, if you're going to be honest, you're lucky if you get a satisfaction of 1.5 seconds. Because the moment that something comes in your awareness of something else, it's a threat. And there goes your satisfaction, right out the window. And then you try to rearrange the energies that you call your mind. You would call it a mess. We would call it an energy frequency. And you try to rearrange all the pieces to get back to that satisfaction. It's not the rearranging. This is important. It's not the rearranging. It's the rearranging with a scowl that's the issue. And so we bring to your attention, how do you use the observer self? How do you choose to manifest it? In understanding, being in the moment is a matter of those frequencies to harmonize with what is already present. It's not to go to it. It's not to tap into it. We have told you you already are, and that there are parts of your mind that exist there, but you don't. You certainly do not. You still look at it as a concept, something interesting, something worth having a debate over coffee, but certainly not an experience. And so the work that needs to be done, if you are to move forward in your own self-declared journey, not our expectations, your own, ones that you can stop and end at any time. And some of you might. Some of you might decide this is too much work. I'd rather go back to illusion. Plenty have. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll pick this back up whenever. Eventually, you realize through exploring the illusion, there's no place else to go. You keep ending up the same place. The maze that has no out. When you memorize it and been through it 50,000 times, becomes boring. Eventually, you'll decide to knock down a wall. If not this life, then the next. So there's no pressure here. So when we say have to, it's not a decree. It's an intent, yours. or you wouldn't be listening. And so, the work before you is understanding that no matter what moment you are in, when you do not perceive it, is exactly the answer. It's because you're choosing to be in that moment and not perceive it. Those are your scattered energies. That is your mind. The light has been turned on, and it's time to clean the room. It is time to organize them. Because if it will not be done by you, it will not be done. God's grace has already given the organized room. The disorganization that you see is what you've done with it. Quite frankly, that is what you would call your karma. The room that you see before you, in your inner self, that chaos of emotions and thoughts. And as long as you keep that expression of judgment upon your observer self, then you cannot truly fix it. So what face should the observer self have? Which is, the answer is to stop judging yourself. We have said in the book, Finding the Inner Self, that the one section that we definitely agree with in the Bible is the command not to judge. Don't judge. We are not appropriate to judge. It is not a gift given to us, but it is an action we take, and we can choose not to. And you won't understand the beauty of those words and the simplicity of it until you choose to stop judging yourself. And you won't begin to be able to do that until you observe the measuring stick that you're constantly measuring yourself by, with every thought, every emotion, every situation, every supposed, every could be, every maybe, every I should have. There is that measuring stick. What is that? And who told you to carry it? Understand the importance of those words, and you'll be well on your way of healing that judging face with your observer self by removing that energy. We have said that when a new concept comes in, it challenges you. And so immediately the defenses go up. You're triggered. This is a good thing. Lean in. You're about to learn something about yourself. You are not sponge cake in the rain. You will not die from it. Allow yourself to be challenged and ask yourself a simple question, a way of cutting through the red tape, so to speak. The question is, what is it that I am reacting to? This you are familiar with. And there goes the judging face, still measuring yourself because you reacted. So what am I reacting to? Get the nature of the reaction. And here's the second question we've given you that you rarely ask. And does it serve me? What purpose does it currently hold? And does that serve me anymore? Because at that point in time, you now bring it into a perspective that nothing is nailed down. Your mind is free to create, uncreate, and recreate how you choose. There is no loyalty. To say that you have a concept that you have loyalty to only has one end point. The reason why you have loyalty to it is because of a history. A history to whom? Society, this world, a family, a relationship, friends. All of that you can't take with you. All of that, as we have discussed, when you leave one life and go to the next, you don't take that with you. You do take the experience with you. That which you did not release and let go, the emotional energy of it. There, silently in the background, painting the world around you. Don't believe us? Then do us a favor. Can you accurately tell us the history of your past life? The emotional mood of it? The thoughts that went into it? The day-by-day events of them? Perhaps that seems esoteric. Why don't we focus on the now? Can you accurately tell us your history as a child? Or has those memories, as time gone on, become less and less consistent and more of an emotional flavor and mood of the event? Do you remember them detail by detail? Every day? Every year? Every month? Or is it grouped into an energy of a feeling that you recall and then put some physical memories upon it? Oh, so then we guess you're doing now what you do with past lives. It's already occurring with the current life, isn't it? You don't keep that history, and yet you use it as a justification for your current moment to justify beliefs. I have to believe this way because there's a history. There is no history. There's just your mind. And you are free to create it, uncreate it, and recreate it as you choose. These ideas of loyalties to repetitive actions is what's keeping you trapped. And while that is a mental concept, action, 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 it's one that needs to now be experienced to free up your mind of what you think and know it's capable of. Until you bust that wall down in the maze that traps you within it, you won't understand. Well, unless you count mental concepts as understanding. But if you do, then truly you bind yourself to a poor life, a fraction of what you are. a fraction. Why? Kick down the wall. We dare you. And see yourself truly. And so, the mind is the moment. The moment that you're looking for is not a realization that changes you. There are those that have that, we have said this, but they built to that whether they know it or not. And it occurred into the lifetime that they're in. The common path is to build it from where you are now. The moment that you're looking for is exactly what you're seeing in your thoughts and emotions and your daily chaos and that which you judge. And so it is a matter of perception. It is a matter of reharmonizing that energy and that attachment to separation with it to release it. To release it. Once it is released, your mind is free, begins to be free. You begin to understand the purpose of the room you found within. And you can begin to create with it as you choose fit. Everything you have now is exactly what you'll have when you liberate. The only difference is how you perceive it. This is what we've been attempting to show you. But at this point forward, it now becomes about action. Step by step, small steps of changing what it is that you perceive, and to finally stop waiting for something to come in, the light, God, the guru, spirit, a book, a course, a DNA resequencing, a cleansing, a Reiki session, to do it for you. No one can do this but you. If you do not do this, it will not be done. No one can change the way you perceive yourself and this world. Well, we should say, no one can change the way you perceive yourself and through that, the world. The world being the reflection of the way that you see yourself. The purpose of thoughts and emotion is to paint physicality for creation, for what you are creating, to give physical purpose to that intention. And so if you are feeling anxiety and fear, and the need to be repressed, along comes a group to take that role. Because they feel the need to repress someone. They feel the need to create the fear. It's a matter of power. And so you have a harmonious agreement a harmonious agreement made in heaven, and a harmonious agreement made in heaven that no one would agree to with those terms. You would call it wrong. And then you build resolution steps to take action, to protest, violent reactions, and then even killing each other for it. When the actual issue is your perceptions. And do all the physical actions we spoke of that you take to resolve such matters actually resolve anything? Well, if they did, then why does history keep repeating itself? How many times do you go through the cycle of war and kill each other off? And then it dies down and builds back up and comes over again. And did you learn anything from the last time? No, you're still investing in it now. You're currently investing in it now. Pick a side. Who's right? Who's wrong? Who deserves punishment? Let's judge the meter of the punishment. Is it too much or too little? It should just stop. What a simple solution. It should just stop. The simple solution is taking responsibilities for your perceptions. First and foremost, physician, heal thyself. And so the point that we want to make, the tool that we want to lay down this time, is that your mind is the moment. It's the only reason why you cannot perceive it. Is because of the way you are perceiving with your mind, what you keep your attention upon. And so the action that comes into play, that is required if you're going to keep up with the lessons and not have them expand to gobbledygook and become an actual experience, is the first step. Follow the exercise we gave for your observer self and draw a face. Is it observing or is it judging? And if it's judging, where is the measuring stick it's using? And what is it doing there in your mind? If you're constantly measuring every little thing, shouldn't you know the standards that you're using? And the purpose of those standards? Does it serve you anymore? The second question that breaks the cycle. Not the realization of the cycle, the breaking of the cycle. What is its purpose, and does it serve you anymore? If not, remove it from your mind. And you say, oh, Theial, that's not so easy. We never said it was easy. We said to remove it. And how do you do this? By being conscious. By being aware. You have two choices. You can go through your life being aware of the effects of your mind and not enjoying them, or you can choose to transfer that to being aware of the effects that you are creating in the moment. Because again, you're always in the moment. It is always now, no matter when. Past life, this life, future life, it's still now. It is. Because that's where you are aware, consciousness. That is now. And so what's the difference? Understood truly, there is no difference. And so choose to be aware, if you dare, of what you're creating in the moment. When is the moment? Right now. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What's the measuring stick you're judging it by? Choose to stop. I am whole and complete as I am. I am whole and complete as I am. It's not a concept. It's a state of being. And you stop the thought in its path. But wait, through the chaos, I almost had my outfit picked out that would be perfect for next week's picnic. I am whole and complete as I am. Whether you go in shorts or go shop for a dress, it doesn't matter. You are whole and complete as you are. The need to find the perfect outfit is the measuring stick. Stop. It took you out of the moment. How do we know this? Because mentally and emotionally, you are fantasizing yourself being in several stores shopping for different outfits and where you would most likely find the one that would fit perfectly. All of that is an illusion. It's not happening. But the emotional and mental reactions to those fantasies is very real and is defining yourself as a state of being. And again, in those fantasies you play out, is that a good experience or feeling like you're constantly running to catch up to something's approval that you can't understand what it is? And then say, why am I so filled with anxiety? Indeed. What else could you do running madly through a maze you created for your own approval, projected outward based on a history of expectations that aren't real? Why would you not feel anxiety? What do you expect the medicine to do for you for that? You're creating it faster than the medicine can cope with. Stop. You don't have to be that way. The mind is the moment, and the moment is now, right now. So what is your mind being? It is only in this space that you have control over it, that you have a say, that you can give a direction. You can't give a direction if you believe you're actually shopping for the perfect outfits in several stores at once for next weekend. There, you're in a movie theater from hell, trying on outfits in your mind that don't fit, make your butt look fat, and gonna make everyone judge you according to your own judgments. The mind is the moment. It is time to begin training your awareness, besides the observer self and the face you're making. The next thing, not that you have to be masterful at it, and certainly not successful, not what we're saying. It's the beginning of the development of, while you're in the observer's self seat, to realize where that seat is. The seat of consciousness is always in the moment. It is always now. And anything passing along its observation is happening now. And if you don't like what you're observing, reharmonize it. Choose a new frequency. The problem begins is that when you place, it comes within your attention, that you believe it to be separate and real. And so you lose your seat of consciousness, you lose your awareness, and you're trapped in the movie you are creating, and you don't even know you're creating it. And then you look to the world in justification for your experience, and you're never disappointed. If what is available does not properly express the amount of dread you had, someone comes along, shaving a haircut, and says, 2 bits, I'm here to play that role. Let me really give you a reason of dread and a real reason of fear. And then the fun begins. What type of punishment is deserved? Who should be punished? And who should be killed? It is the same pattern over and over and over again, repetitively. These are the basics. How could you say you're expanding yourself consciously if you cannot stay in the seat of consciousness and sit? Sit for longer than a moment that was accidental. Sit in your place of power. Sit in the light of your consciousness. Sit at your point of creation. It is where you belong. And until you claim the throne that was made for you, you have mental concepts of these tools. Mental concepts which continually disturb you. It is like trying to wrestle a bag of wet cats. Not much fun. Always troublesome. And always has many points of pain to make. Sit in the seat of consciousness. The mind is the moment. Take your attention off of what the perceptions have been seeing and try to solve it. Don't try to solve it. Reharmonize it. There's no solving that. There never was. What that is an amusement park of horrors. Sit in the seat of consciousness. The mind is the moment. And whatever it is you're perceiving is the moment. And that is your state of being. Choose another option. But more important than choosing another option, the 2 main points of this lesson is to follow God's advice and stop judging. Get rid of the measuring stick. First, acknowledge that it's there. Second, ask yourself if it serves you anymore. Stop judging when you observe. Get rid of judgment. Second point, affirm and remind yourself, no matter what it is you're experiencing, it's in the moment. It's happening right now. The idea that it's going to come next week, next year, the rest of your life, is an illusion. It's just the moment, what you are choosing to perceive it as. Begin to ground yourself into the moment. And this is the mistake that most minds make. They think it's either or. Well, last week my mind was absolutely chaos. And then I had the moment and I never left it. And everything changed. I no longer feel that way. I'm no longer afraid. I no longer have these troubles. I sleep beautifully at night. In fact, I'm aware at all times. I moved from one to another. That is separation. And separation is not real. You cannot solve separation with separation. Every treatise on the truth, when you get to the end of understanding what it is, speaks that phenomena and noumena is the same thing. The yin and the yang, the two fish that constantly circle each other, push, pull, is the same energy, seen as one. The female energy grows into the male energy extended, is one energy. The duality. The mind is the moment. Look appreciative of what your perceptions is doing to it. And understand in that same moment you can create, uncreate, or recreate. And our peace to you.